You've entered Bookstorm with Kristen Civiletto and me, Chris Storm. This is a podcast devoted to best-selling books that matter, books that make a difference. We're diving down deep with beloved authors about their stories. We're exposing hot-button topics and heartfelt themes, the issues that affect each of us in our own lives, as siblings, parents, partners, friends, as human beings. We're braving new ideas, fresh thoughts, hard lessons, and important truths. Those kinds of things that stay with us long after we turn the last page and close the book. Welcome back, book lovers. You are at the right place. I feel like you're entering the Bookstorm with Kristen and I as we search out the best fiction today. We're super excited to have JAMIE Brenner back on Bookstorm a second time. That makes her feel like family. JAMIE, welcome back to talk about this fantastic jumpstart on summer, a novel summer.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't want to start the summer book season any other way. So thank you for having me. Yeah, it's starting to feel like summer, and the book is a return to Cape Cod, which for me has been a go-to the past, 7 books or so. I've gone a few other places, but I keep finding myself drawn back to those shores.
And we're happy about that because there's nothing better than a great summer read. Now, let me just tell our listeners a little bit about you because I know they're going to be curious. Of course, you're the best-selling author of, is it up to 8 novels now?
Yes, now.
And your books have been featured in wonderful places like People Magazine, Cosmopolitan, Good Housekeeping, Entertainment Weekly, ABC News, The New York Post, Family Circle, and I could go on and on. You grew up in suburban Philadelphia. I like this in your bio, on a steady diet of books and daytime dramas. Then moved to New York City for a career in publishing. That's interesting. No wonder we're going to be talking about that shortly. You raised 2 daughters in Manhattan, challenging and fun thing to do. And then you returned to your hometown to spend your summers visiting the very beaches that inspire your novels. We love that. Now I'm going to sum this up because I have a quote from Adriana Trigiani, who we consider a friend of Bookstorm. She's been on our show. She says this: the spectacular JAMIE Brenner brings us the world of books in a rich, satisfying, and surprising summer read. I love also People Magazine. The pages practically turn themselves. Yes, Adriana and People Magazine. Kristen and I could not agree more. We can't wait to dive down deep, and welcome back to Bookstorm.
Thank you. Yeah. Adriana, she's like a book fairy godmother to so many people. I mean, it's a really great community, but and this, since a novel summer is a lot about not just writing, but how the people we're surrounded with affect our creativity and our careers and a lot of the choices and things that happen. So in real life, unlike the fictional novelist in my book, I have not had any problems with my friends or my later in life book friends. But maybe some people have not had such a smooth ride because, as a novel summer talks about, when you write about books dealing with personal drama and betrayals and love and secrets, of course, people assume you're writing what you know, and they can't help but think, oh, wait, is that thing she and I talked about? Was that guy from that summer? So in a novel summer, those sort of questions get my main character into a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for her, the answer is yes, that was someone this person knew or what this person did. But in real life, I do try to avoid that.
We're going to get into that a little bit deeper because that's my first question. But Kristen, I think, is going to give our readers a little bit more of a tease.
Yeah, I love that. And Jamie, you were talking about some of the themes running through this wonderful story. So I want to kind of flesh that out a little bit for our listeners, but I won't give away any spoilers, of course. Now, in your story, as you mentioned, we meet Shelby Archer, and she is a novelist. And she has her first book. It was inspired by some of her experiences living in Provincetown in Cape Cod and some of the people that she knew, some of her neighbors and her friends. So she returns to Provincetown because she wants to celebrate the publishing of her book. And she gets a little bit of the cold shoulder from those neighbors and friends. Maybe they feel a little hurt, a little betrayed, maybe by some of the things that were in the story. Now she is a little bit heartbroken. She goes back to New York City and she's getting to work on her next novel. And there's a lot to overcome here because she didn't get the reaction that she expected. She gets a call from an old friend who says, "Can you come back to Provincetown? I need some help. I've got this beautiful bookshop and I would like, a little bit of support." Her friend had some issues going on. So she goes back. And I love that your story follows that journey of her trying to earn the trust of people that maybe felt hurt by some of the things she had written in the past. And what I really loved about the story is that there comes a point where she now has to choose again between success and maybe love and relationships, because again, she could get herself into a situation that could hurt some people. Do you want to add anything else to that summary between what you'd said before and that? I feel like
Oh,
such a cool introduction.
that was such a great summary. I want to take you on book tour with me. Can I just,
Please do.
before every event, we're going to bring you out first. That was lovely. Thank you.
I've said this a million times. Everyone says that to Kristen and we love it. And then I just say, well, can I come? I'll carry your briefcase. I'll carry your luggage. Okay. So I'm going to tease our readers even more. Jamie Brenner showed the reader the inside world of writing and publishing, literary agents, editors, advanced reader copy, beta readers. There was a major theme in this story about an author, as you said, sharing private details of people's lives. I had to ask you, as a writer, and you were in the publishing world, how difficult is it not to write about what we know? Doesn't fiction imply that it's not true? And isn't it very easy for someone to assume that we're writing about them, even though we're not? This has got to be tricky.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Most people, the most interesting thing about people often are the things we don't really know about the person, because they're the things that they grapple with in their most private moments or their past, or things that so much of what they do is a reaction to. So I think as a writer, even if you observe certain behaviors and you draw from that, oh yeah, like the time so-and-so did that, the motivations and the pain and the journey that people go on, they have to be, they're most often truly fictionalized because we just can't know those things about other people. So yes, I think, and I think as a writer, things that you observe are fair game. You know, if something did happen in real time, in real life, sure, it's impossible not to want to use that. But the inner lives of characters, for me, are always made up because I can't possibly know those things about people. And I think that's why we read novels, because we have the chance to not just see what people do on the outside, but maybe how that contradicts or amplifies what they're feeling inside. And it helps us, I think, gain understanding of, our own actions, motivations, good or bad, and those are the people around us. So I think that's the little dance between what we know and what we see and what we imagine, that is the exchange between every writer and reader.
And you showed us a little of the flip side of that also. Maybe stories that we take from people that we know about something that they have endured and overcome and gained victory over. There may be people who are very happy that you're writing about this, that you're unfolding a journey that showed how to overcome something like this.
Yeah. There was one instance where I wanted to write something very specific that happened to someone I know. And I did ask permission first, and that person said, yes, go ahead. Understanding that it was, fictionalized, liberties would be taken, but it was that person's experience was a springboard. I got the blessing and I did. So yes, maybe, and either my acquaintance was being very generous with me, or maybe, like you said, it often helps to, like, I want other people to see how I handle this, and therefore I'm putting something positive out into the world, or maybe this is also part of my process dealing with it. Absolutely. But unlike the character in A Novel Summer, Shelby, I don't think you can just assume if you write about someone's experience that they're going to take that as a compliment. And I don't think my character Shelby really, at the point in which she made that decision, cared, because at that point, all she was really thinking about was her own success in becoming a published author. So a lot of it has to do with, yes, how you handle it, but maybe there's some thought about what is the motivation of the writer, and that if that's not handled carefully, of course, feelings could get hurt.
And that's where the plot thickens.
That's where the plot thickens. Exactly. I also
Jamie,
think, the friends in the book are from college. And I think the transition between college friendships and that sort of almost familial intimacy, how does that transition into the real world when you're in your 20s and you're maybe not all in the same space geographically, and you want different things than you used to, like how do people successfully navigate that? And I think sometimes the way people handle that stage in friendship can make the difference between what becomes a lifelong friendship or just someone that you used to know. So that's something I wanted to explore in this book.
Love it.
Jamie, you also explore the origin of our ideas about success. That's one of the underlying themes that I saw in the story, at least. And often, we know what we're drawn to, we know what it looks like for us to arrive, but sometimes that changes along the way. And I wanted to ask you, where do you think people form those original ideas of success for themselves? Is that maybe from their family? Is that something that kind of is shaped as we discover what we love? What do you think?
It's really interesting you brought that up, because I just finished reading a memoir called Ambition Monster. And it's by a woman named Jennifer Romolini. And it's sort of, she realizes that a lot of her ambition or definition of success was in response to what she didn't get as a child, like what feelings she didn't earn from her parents or weren't given to her freely. And I am starting to think that for a lot of people, their definition of success can often have to do with satisfying like either wounds from their childhood or things that they never felt they had that they could earn in a different way. I mean, I think it's almost a cliche that a lot of actors go into that field because they want attention and they lack. But I think a lot of people choose their fields for reasons that are very personal that they may not even realize until they're in the thick of it. But yes, some external measures of success are, of course, defined by the media, and it's social media now, but even television. When I was a teenager and I watched Dynasty, and what's success? Well, the huge house and the big jewels and, the Nolan Miller wardrobe or what have you. So yes, we're always sort of tricked by what we see on the outside and to eternalize inside that if we get that, we'll be happy. But I think, yes, the definition of success evolves all the time if you are honest with yourself and honest with what it really means to be happy.
Yeah. And especially here too, where we saw the characters valuing relationships and friendships and how important they were. And that kind of reshaped their idea of success. And you can't help but, as you mature and get older, start to appreciate those aspects more, right?
Absolutely. I think if you talk to 100 people who accomplished their dream, 99% would say, but if the other things in my life weren't working, that wouldn't be enough to make me happy. If that foundation of relationships or friendships, marriage, whatever's going on with your siblings or parents, if something's wrong there, all the external success in the world often cannot make things okay, which sounds really corny, but anyone who's like made it to midlife can see that's true. And whatever we mean by success, like even if you don't have to be like, a billionaire or own a sports team or whatever. Like even if you're like, I want to be X, and you do that, it's the thing you worked for and you have it. It's just part of a small part of a much more important puzzle that is life.
That's wisdom right there. I say all the time, we're not going to lay on our deathbed and say, bring me my stock portfolio, the invention that I made. Let me look at it. Let me see a picture of my house. We're going to say, bring me all the people I love. Bring them the people I had substantial relationships. That's the meaning right there. I agree.
Well, yeah. And it's so funny because I look back as a child and I'd see like if there was a novelist depicted in a movie, for example, Romancing the Stone. Okay, the main character was a novelist. I'm like, she's a novelist. How could she be unsatisfied with her life? How could she not be happy? I wouldn't leave my desk for that jungle or whatever she did. And then it's like, oh, I literally could not imagine someone being published and not being deliriously happy every minute of the day. And then I realized that's got nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That's good wisdom. There's something else that happened in the story. Learning how to differentiate good and bad criticism. Now, this was as a writer, but this could almost translate to anything you do in life. There are experts in every genre, every experts with grammar or story or character. But what do you think? What does a writer take and what do they reject? You've got all these beta readers. For our listeners, these are readers that volunteer to look at your novel and give you some honest feedback. This is a tricky thing that Kristen and I are discovering. What do you accept and when do you say, no, I don't accept that?
It is tricky, you're right. And what I've learned is that you have to have a very solid idea of the story you're trying to tell and believe in that. And there's no one right way to tell any story, to write any novel. Okay. And at a certain point, the distinction between good feedback and bad feedback, when you become, you've got the basic craft issues down, you need feedback that is pushing you towards your version of telling this story. There could be a great idea that's technically correct, but if it's not really serving the idea you have in your mind of what you want the book to be, it's not relevant. It could be the best piece of dialogue. It could be the best plot twist. But if it's taking you away, and it sounds ephemeral to say your idea of the book, but any writer, and you know this, you do have your dream book outcome in your mind. It's never possible to get there. The job is to get as close as possible. And deep down, only you can know like what the answers to those things, to those questions, the problems are. That's what I think.
Well, that goes for everyone in every field. Stay true to your purpose. Stay true to your, you may say, calling, what your message is, what you're feeling in your heart. Stay true to who you are. And let me just throw this in. I heard a couple of authors this week on a podcast say that they never read their book reviews. Do you look at yours? They say no. Someone gave them advice. Don't look at them. And especially don't respond to the critical reviews.
Yeah, I don't read book reviews because there's so, you have good reviews, bad reviews. Ultimately, I don't know. I can't read it. I did in the beginning, my first book or so. And look, sometimes someone would say something and I'm like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. I'm going to work on that. But like I said, too many cooks in the kitchen, not the best environment for being creative and having a vision. You cannot please everyone. You just can't. even if it's just you, your agent, and your editor, there may be times when someone in the mix is going to have to compromise or not be entirely happy. So if you try to accomplish that with just thousands of people, it's a no-win creative journey.
I like that.
Jim, I want to ask you about something else. We've all been told that we have what it takes to do something inside of ourselves. But in your story, we saw how Shelby and Hunter and Colleen, they really needed one another in ways that maybe they didn't even fully appreciate until they got a little bit older. And I want to ask you about this. Do you think our societal messaging about independence and achievement maybe needs to shift? And we need to teach our young people better skills to cooperate, a cooperative approach to certain problem solving, for example?
Yeah, I think there really is this odd sort of narrative in our country about the individual, the maverick, the person who just sets out on his own, alone on the prairie and makes his fortune. There's just this, we exalt that, solitary, singular journey. But the truth is we do need other people. It's strange for writers because you have to be able to be alone and you have to be comfortable, sitting with that in that space. But look, I mean, yes, we literally cannot do it without people like who want to talk about our book, who want to read about our book, who the people in our lives that we experience emotions with and therefore get material from. So it's impossible to do it entirely alone. And yes, maybe there needs to be a different narrative around forward motion or industriousness or whatever. On the flip side, like for example, like I tried writing a screenplay once and I couldn't deal with how many people it involved. Like too much collaboration for me personally is not good. So for every person, it's a balance. But I do think it's a myth that there's anyone who can just, sit there in a room alone and create and make it all work. Unless you're Donna Tartt, I think she probably can.
Probably.
I love her books too.
Me too.
I was thinking about that theme with your story because I live at the Canadian border, very close. And that's definitely one of those cultural differences between us and the Canadians just across the river, where we have a focus on individual rights, whereas they are focused more on the communal good or the collective good.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking about that in your story because there was a lot of wrestling going on with how much we need one another and how important that is to our ultimate success. So very, very interesting theme.
Thank you. Well, I think in a community like Provincetown, which is so small and so artistic, but really it's tiny. And yes, it's a microcosm of that, the compromise that has to be made and, what kind of community do you want to live in? And as the individual, what is your responsibility to that community? I think that is something that I was exploring. And it's something I feel when I'm in Provincetown. There's always the push and pull between the two, and it always takes, everyone coming together to solve the problem.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we love talking to you. We could ask you a million other questions, but we know that our listeners are going to enjoy this book. And before we let you go, we were wondering if you could give us a little bit of a peek what's on your radar, maybe even a clue.
I mean, what I'm writing or what I'm reading?
Actually, we would love to hear either one.
Okay. So I just finished reading the book, as I mentioned, Ambition Monster, which explores some of these themes, but as a memoir, not as a novel. The next novel I have coming is going to be set in, it's a change of scenery, New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is this really quaint, quirky, historical town on the Delaware River. And it's set at a knitting retreat where a mother and daughter go to bond and end up dealing with explosive, long-buried issues over the course of this initially bucolic weekend. So that is what I'm working on right now.
Ooh, that sounds
Excellent.
good, right, Kristen?
It's so intriguing. And very much. Well, I want to tell our listeners how they can connect with you because I know they will want to. You have a beautiful website, JAMIE Brenner with 2 N's.com. You connect with people through Goodreads, I see, and Instagram. And we're just so thankful that you came back to talk to us about this wonderful book. And again, we would love to see you in the future, especially with that very interesting new book. It sounds like you are in the process of writing. All the best to you.
Thank you so much. Have a great summer.
You too. Good
Thank
to see you, Jamie.
Bye,
Thank you.
too.
Bye-bye. As always, so good to talk to Jamie Brenner. I love when we get a guest to come back 2, 3 times, 4 times. It's a lot of fun. I really loved this idea about who should you listen to as a critic and who should you not.
Yeah.
She really spelled out the answer to that. There's 1,000 people who don't know anything about your career who are going to criticize and try to give you advice. This sort of goes into, just going to come out and say it because all of our listeners, no matter what your career path is, jealousy and competition. Some people are never going to be happy for you, no matter what you do and what you succeed, even if you're doing a good cause. And
Yeah.
isn't that a shame? What's your take on that? I feel like they're stealing the joy of family or friendship when we can't be happy for each other.
Yeah, I think some of it might be rooted in jealousy. And I think how you distinguish that, at least for me, is if I hear something more than once or repeatedly, I do take stock and say, okay, is there something valid to what they're having to say here? But at the same time, I also look at the motivations of the people that are saying these things to me. And if it's somebody who I know loves me, who wants what's best for me, then I'm very likely to take what they have to say and, think on it. If it's somebody who I have suspicions about their motives, they've got another agenda, then that makes me a little more skeptical about what they have to say. I don't know. Do you kind of have little tests that you
I
use for
agree. I
criticism?
completely agree. I feel as we get older, we know enough what criticism to take or not. But looking back on my younger years, like 20s and 30s, we're sort of discovering ourselves. We're believing we need to listen to anyone who has been in the business longer than us. And
Yeah.
that's not always necessarily true. Okay, going hand in hand with this in the book was when Shelby did use some stories from her real life to build upon her book. I just thought it was interesting. This issue of whether you're purposely trying to hurt someone or whether you're accidentally. You thought of a story, you kind of remembered where it came from, you wanted to spread it. You never meant to hurt someone because, quite honestly, you never really even thought about it. There's a
Yeah.
big difference between purposeful harm and just naivety. Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, and maybe one other thing, and that is, not paying enough attention to other people and using something that is identifiable. You should have known better. I think there's one more little intermediary step in there. You should know better than to, talk about situations that are so personal to somebody. You don't want to inflict harm on people, obviously, but just short of intentional is that no better standard.
I like
You
that. No
know?
better. It
Yeah,
plays into this book. But guess what? You said you don't want to hurt people intentionally. That's not true for everyone.
that's true.
I mean, it's
That's
it's just so interesting to me reading these books because they're showing us the inner thoughts, motives of thousands of different types of personalities. We're all
yeah,
so complex and different that you can't give a hard and fast rule for every situation. Everything has to be
absolutely.
looked at. But that's what I loved about this book. She really dives into personality, real life,
Yeah,
struggles, motives,
yeah, and
hopes and
ideas of
dreams,
success, right?
and ideas of success.
Yeah.
Yes,
Has
loved it.
that ch has that changed for you, by the way, as far as what your idea of success was when you were younger versus as an adult?
Absolutely. I think there is wisdom with age, and I
Yeah,
have grown to understand that relationships are everything. I mean, you hear me say it all the time. My nieces, my
yeah.
28, now I'm up to, I don't know, 30. Between the marriages and the babies, I think I'm up to like 36 nieces and nephews. And I always say love is everything. It's everything.
Yeah,
It just
right,
is.
if there's
I mean, it really is. You realize what really matters.
yeah.
How about you?
It's funny because I agree with you completely, and also I had very strong notions of justice and, people doing right by one another, and to me, success was helping to ensure that. And so I do feel like my notion of success has not changed in that respect, because that is still very important to me. And it is still something that drives a lot of what I do, as a human being.
Mhm.
So it's kind
Would
of
you be
interesting what
happy?
changes.
Would you be happy doing that if that was all you did and you had no family and no friends and no relationships?
I probably not. No, but I guess what I try to juggle is that happy medium where there's, these good relationships, which I do. I'm very blessed to have wonderful friends, you, my children, family, but also I think it's important to have satisfying and fulfilling work if that's something that you also defined as part of your success.
Mhm. We've
So
given our listeners a lot to think about. And I know and I hope that they're doing this, internalizing all these discussions, taking a look at themselves. Because in every fiction novel, as Kristen and I love to say, there is no such thing as true fiction. It's based on the reality of everything we've already experienced and know to be true. And
Yeah.
that's why we love it so.
So much. Well, I want to tell our listeners about who we have coming up because we're very excited also about these authors. We have Preston and Child, Angel of Vengeance, Jeffrey Deaver and Isabella Maldonado, Fatal Intrusion, Brian Freeman writing as Robert Ludlum for the series, The Born Shadow. We are so excited about that. And listeners, we want you to continue to spread our socials. We are thankful for you. We're thankful for your comments. We're up to, 83 countries and territories
Kristen.
in 1,800 cities.
Guess what? I looked the other day. We're up to 86 countries.
Oh my goodness. This is so exciting. So thank you, listeners. We're very grateful for you. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram, on X, on TikTok. We're on YouTube. Just search Bookstorm and Podcast. We come right up. And we have a wonderful website, bookstormpodcast.com. Until next time, listeners, one of the best ways to brave the storm is to dive down deep into life-changing fiction.